نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم صدق الله العظيم. Honorable brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. With the blessing of Allah Almighty and with the tawfiq of Allah Almighty, we are witnessing yet another Friday, and this is one of the best days of the week according to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam and according to Holy Quran's various verses, and particularly Suratul Jumu'ah. So the Suratul Jumu'ah itself explains the significance of the day that in which we are today, which is Friday. I have chosen today a topic which is I would say, everyday's talk, and that is, why do differences exist in Islam? And the common person argument, and by common and ordinary person I mean a person who for any reason did not get an opportunity to dive into Islamic scholarship from the times of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam till date. They could not get an opportunity to get into them and acquire and become well versed in Islamic scholarship. So that is what I mean by an ordinary person. This ordinary person ranges from absolute illiterate who did not get an opportunity to be schooled, to visit college or university, to study any discipline or specialize in any discipline whatsoever, to the people who are professional in medicine, in engineering, in computer science, or in social science, in history, in anthropology, in cosmology, or whatever the disciplines are. So, what do I mean by the ordinary person? From sheer illiterate to even professionals, but these are the professionals who have devoted entire their life into their professionalism and did not get an opportunity to dive into Islamic scholarship. Now, from that perspective, they have a very ordinary and naive perception. And what do I mean by naive perception? Naive perception means uncritical perception, uninformed perception, a perception like an innocent child who has never been exposed to complex situations of the world. He cannot relate to the complex situation. And everybody knows that what are the childish experiences like. So if somebody knows that what are the childish experiences like, he knows that what does it mean by naivety. He knows what does it mean by being uncritical. He knows what does it mean by having not exposed to multiple situations, right? So ordinary perception about Islam is that since we believe in Holy Quran, and Holy Quran is one, we believe in Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam to be the final prophet of Allah Almighty, and he is the righteous person, and he is the noble person, he is the true prophet who received revelation from Allah Almighty, right? So we know that the Prophet is one, the Quran is one, and then they jump from this, I would say, statement to another statement. Why do we have differences then now, right? Why do we have differences at all? If we have one Quran, if we have hadith, which is coming from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is just one personality. So then why do we have multiple perspectives? How can we explain the multiplicity of opinion in Islamic civilization and in Islamic scholarship? And to extend, why do we have Hanafis? Why do we have Malikis? Why do we have Shawafi? Why do we have Ahmad bin Hanbal's followers? Why do we have all of these multiple interpretations of Islam and still valid interpretation of Islam? So their naive, their immature, unscholar, uninformed opinion is puzzled, is perplexed by this perception that how to interpret that, right? When it comes to Islam, when it comes to religion, they say, no, it cannot be tolerated, right? So for them, differences may be tolerated in their profession of medicine. Differences may be tolerated in the profession of engineering. Differences may be tolerated in the profession of IT, engineering, etc., etc. But differences cannot be tolerated and should not be expected in the field of Islam. So my dear brothers, why is this exception? Why do we give this exception to Islam? Since Islam is also a science, it has a systematic body of knowledge. It has the reasoning behind every single statement. It has the rigorous methodology when it says something about something. So it has a rigorous methodology behind that. There are principles. There are principles which are expressed, which are rational, which are consistent, and which can be corroborated and corresponded in every single instance that where did we get this hukum from? Where did we get this ruling from, right? So this naivety comes, why? Because we love our religion in such a way that it's like, possessiveness. That when you have your kids, so you have a possessive attitude towards that. You say, no, my son is my son. He does not have any weakness or fault or whatever, okay? So you are not ready to accept it. Why? Because you have a certain relationship. But is this a realistic attitude? I would say, everybody would say, no, it's not a realistic attitude. In the same way, we are supposed to be looking at the religion, particularly the religion of Islam also, right? And I give you by one example. Look, medical science claims about itself that it is a science, right? And science means it is objectively over there. It's a fact. It's a fact. And there would never be any mistake at all in that. There would never be multiplicity of the opinions at all. And I give you an example that you would also substantiate that example, and you would also follow that example, and you would also agree with this example. And I give the example that once my first niece was born in hospital, right? So everybody now, they are born in hospitals. So the days are over when the births used to take place in the houses. So when my niece was born, and she was not given bath immediately, and doctor said, and the support hospital staff said, no, according to the medical science research, the babies are not supposed to be bathed immediately. At least we have to wait 24 hours. Right after 2 years, my another niece was born, and the same hospital, perhaps the same staff, they came up with another research. They took the baby for immediate bath. And we inquired, why is it so? Just 2 years back you did that. They said, no, the current medical research tells us that babies are supposed to be bathed immediately. So you are not supposed to be waiting for 24 another hours. Now what does that mean? You claim that medical science is a science. It says facts. But these facts, within the short span of time, in my perception, okay, I don't know what happened backward, but within my perception, you can see that immediately the perception has been changed. So it means medical science is accepting changes in their interpretations, is accepting data which is being changed, and now a new interpretation has taken over. And we are blindly doing it, right? And we say, no, since this medical science is untouchable, it is objective, it is as pure as anything else, as angels, and we accept it. So the point that I'm trying to make is, look, we are very welcoming to the differences that are taking place in other disciplines. Understandably, they may be sciences, but they have their own methodologies, but we are not ready to accept this fact that why do we have different interpretations and understandings in religion, and why we can't tolerate that, right? So that's the point that I'm trying to make over here. From this background, I would start with the one verse of Holy Quran, and perhaps the verse number 59 in Surah An-Nisa, in which Allah Almighty says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O believers, ati'u Allah, obey Allah Almighty, wa ati'u Rasul, obey Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, wa ulil amri minkum, and obey those who are in authority in knowledge, right? Those who are authority in knowledge, obey them. Now, the question arises, what does that mean? Who are authority in knowledge? Who are authority in knowledge? Now, without getting into my perception, the Imam of, let's say, Cape Cod Masjid or Islamic Center of the Cape Cod, let's not go to any other Imam or any other greatest scholar of the subcontinent of the US, North America, or the Europe. We are not going to them. We are not going to in the 21st century or the 20th century. Let's get to the companions. Who are the companions? Who saw, accompanied Prophet. They knew what Islam is, because from dawn to dusk they used to experience Prophet, and they knew exactly what is the insight and the future perception of the Islam. How did they interpret this verse? So Abdullah ibn Masud and Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, famously they have narrated that over here Ulul Amr means those people who are given the knowledge of fiqh in Islam. And knowledge of fiqh means they do know what lies in the depth of the verses and in the depth of the holy hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I think it should be very clear. After Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, one cannot say anything. Why? Because he is the person who accompanied Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam. He is the person who is considered to be the first mufassir of Islam, who interpreted Holy Quran. He is the person about whom Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam praised a lot. And he is the person who was relied even after the demise of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam in opinions like that. Right? So he says that in this verse it is said that follow the opinions of the scholars. Okay. Now the question is, why do we have differences? Why, when we have one Quran, why do we have differences? So let me give you few examples. Well, many examples can be given, but we are limited with the time. We have to end it at some time. So by the end of this talk, I think there should be some substance that should be shared with you so that you get an idea that why do we have differences? And we are supposed to be tolerating them because they are coming from the right source. The first thing is, look, how many verses are there in the Holy Quran? There are approximately more than 6,000, almost 7,000 verses, right? And once, Allama Jalaluddin Suyuti rahmatullahi ta'ala, he was asked, how many ahadith are in total? And ahadith means not the narrations, but the content of the narration, the matan of the narration, right? And I give you an example. Look, the famous hadith is, well, for example, man samata fanaja, who kept silence is successful. Okay, this is very famous hadith. Now, this hadith is one content, right? But it can be narrated by multiple companions. So over here, Allama Jalaluddin Suyuti is referring to the hadith content, not to the multiple narrations. For example, the very famous book of hadith, and which is very famous among the common people also, is what? Sahih Bukhari. And Sahih Bukhari is a hadith, is a compilation of the hadith which has multiple repetitions. Multiple repetition. One text, but multiple authors. And Imam Bukhari brings them in different chapters, the same hadith, sometimes with the same narrator, right? So this multiplicity excluded how many ahadith may be narrated from Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in totality. In totality. So he said about 50,000. So if Imam Jalaluddin Suyuti rahmatullah ta'ala, who was a famous Shafi'i scholar, okay, and we owe to him so many beautiful books like Al-Itqan fi Ulum al-Quran, that is the best book on the ulum of Quran. Then he is also known for his hadith literature like Tadribur Rawi, right? Now, Imam Jalaluddin Suyuti rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh records that in totality, if we get to the narrations of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, they are 50,000. So 50,000 plus 7,000 almost. How many thousands? 57,000 in totality. Now tell me, my dear brothers, how many of us, including myself, had the opportunity to dive into these 57,000 nas, which is coming from the Quran, which is coming from Allah Almighty, either directly in the form of Quran or indirectly in the form of hadith. Scholars, if you go out, you would find rarely some huffaz, but they are the huffaz of the Quran. But they are just the huffaz of the Quran. They have never dived into the meanings of that, right? And what about the hadith? You would rarely find some huffaz of hadith. So my dear brothers, scholars who have even memorized the key words are scarcely found in this world. In this even city in the Boston, you would find rarely a person who has a hafiz a hadith, or even one. And from an ordinary perspective, we claim as if we are the scholars in totality. This doesn't come under reason. Nobody can claim that, look, I am the authority on Islam and you are challenging me in that. This is naivety, sheer naivety and illiteracy. Knowledge always brings about what? Humbleness with it. And look at, I have told you the facts. The facts are 50,000. My dear brothers, if you have been trained as a medical doctor, right? The books that are written, there are written thousands of the pages. And in that, we selectively read that and study them. We never thoroughly go them. And right now, we are talking about the thorough digestion of the themes and the words of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Quran. And it is something that must be appreciated. Those scholars who have actually dived into that and they drew and extracted messages and the contents and the different rulings of the Sharia, they should be given due recognition. They should be given tribute to them. So however we know about Islam, it is because these scholars have preserved the messages of Islam and conveyed them in the form of writing, in the form of teaching, in the form of training, that today we are good Muslims. Now let's get to the themes. Some of the themes that I would like to discuss is why do we have differences? Look, if you read Quran and you read, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, idha qumtum ila salati faghsilu wujuhakum. That's the verse which is in Surah Al-Ma'idah. What does that mean? That when you stand, oh believers, when you stand for the prayer, wash your face. That is the first number one. I explained it earlier, right? The question arises, what does it mean by face? Where does it begin? Where does it end? And what if any part that you think is the part of the face, would there be any differences or not? Quran doesn't explain that. Hadith doesn't explain that. It is the contemplation, rigorous, systematic thought of the scholars that Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas talks about. They have actually extracted the meaning that face means this. And where did he get to this knowledge and this information and this scientific collection is he read Arabic dictionaries. He studied Arabic literature. He studied how that word Wajhun was used among the Arabs at the time of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam. And then he looked at how Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam has been doing it consistently throughout his life. So he combined everything. The Arabic use, the literature, no, that's okay, no problem. Okay, literature, right? And the practices of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam. So the very word wajhun, face, is defined by the scholar is what? Anything in between the two ears and from here till the hair. This is face. Okay? You could also say, many people might say, no, the entire beard is also included in that. No. Fuqaha were very, very specific. And they applied that this part, the chin, is included in the face, but not later than that. So this part of my beard is not included into the face. Are you getting my point? For that I have to do what? The khilal. I have to get my fingers through the beard and then I do the khilal. So face, the meaning of face was not clear. The verse is there, but not clear. Similarly, the meaning of ghusl. What does it mean? Look, what do we do? And that's also common practice. When we say that we are washing our hands, right? We are washing our hands, okay. What does it mean by washing? For example, there is a still water. I just touch my hand, okay, into the water, and then I rub it on my arm. Would that be considered as wash? What if I drop my entire arm into the still water? Would that be considered as a wash? Or do I need to pour water on my arm, and then when it flows onto the entire arm, then it would be regarded as washing? What precisely washing means? How do you decide that? Quran does not categorically decide that. You need scholars. You need people who have depth of knowledge, seas of knowledge about the context, about the seerah, about the consistent practices of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alaihi wasallam. Then they sit, they devote their entire life, they devote their entire attention and bring consistent argument to get to that. If we interpret this word this way, this would help the Muslims to practice better and become better Muslims. That's the second reason why do we have differences. And in this, you would see scholars differed. In this, scholars differed. For example, the earlier day I told you that there are 4 faraid. There are 4 faraid in wuzu, right? But according to Imam Shafi'i, they are not 4. They may be 5. For Imam Malik, they may be 6. So, why do these differences exist? Because there are words that are used in the Qur'an-e Kareem which are not clear. And I give you another common example. I think you would agree with me, and then I would end it up. Look at Quran. Quran says, وَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. Don't say to your parents, uff. Right? What does that mean? It simply means that you are not supposed to be saying uff, but you can hurt them. You can deposit them into the old age houses. You can, you can capture their property. Okay? You can do anything with them. But you are not supposed to be saying uff to them. Scholars have reflected that the objective of Allah Almighty was not just to say uff. Uff is the minimum word. The basic objective is not to hurt them. Not to hurt them. And this spirit and the basic objective was captured by the scholars who knew language, who knew the ahadith. Are you getting my point? So, the point that I'm trying to say is, it is the Quran and its words which were not expressly found, which were not expressly over there. As I told you the word of uff, as I told you the word of wajh, as I told you the word of ghusl. And there are multiple examples by which you can say that in Holy Quran, when you read it, you need interpretation. And that interpretation should not be a random interpretation. That all of a sudden it comes and pops up in your mind, so no, that's that. No, because we stand responsible for the interpretations that we do on that. For this very reason, that we have the differences. And at the end, I would like to say something about the hadith also. Why? Because in hadith is also not clear. Look, in one hadith, Hazrat, let me see his name. Hazrat, if I can tell you the name of the yes, Wa'il bin Hujr, right? So in Tirmizi, one of the top 6 book, Tirmizi, Hazrat Wa'il, he is the narrator. In one hadith, he narrates that when he saw Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said Ameen right after the Fatiha, right after the Suratul Fatiha, Ameen loudly. The same narrator, the same book says that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not say Ameen with loud voice. He silented that. Now the question arises, both are hadiths. Even the narrator is same. Even the book in which it is collected is the same. How would you interpret that? Both are hadiths. So what does that mean? That means you need interpretation and you need to draw the parallels. You have to make a principle by which you would interpret that. And our scholars have interpreted that the final practices of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he did in the final years of his life, these ahadith should be preferred, right? So that's the principle, and according to that principles, our scholars have spoken about it, right? So this is how. It's not simple that you would come and you would say, look, this is the hadith. Wow, we know that there is a hadith, but each hadith is not similar. Some are ahad, the other are mutawatir. Sometimes the companions narrate a hadith, but act differently. How would you interpret that then? That he is a companion, he knew Prophet did that, he is narrating the same, but he is not practicing that. What would you say? You have to answer. Otherwise, you can't be spared. So for this reason, I would say, my dear friends, respect scholarship. Islam is not something that has just grown up in the 21st century in the age of internet. In Islam, I think the scholars have sweat their blood into that. They devoted their entire life. Do not consider that Islam is like me, who has just come over the masjid and he does nothing, and you think that, wow, it is we who do the work. No, it has invested their entire life. They have been living on the amount, on the facilities that you can even not imagine an ordinary person can live in the United States or in Pakistan. They lived there and they devoted entirely for the cause of Islam, and because of them, we are living a relaxed life. Right now, it's very clear that we are supposed to be saying this, doing that. Why? Because these scholars have actually devoted their entire life. They have done a lot of hard work, a lot of contemplation, and look, nothing is mysterious. For example, sometimes I say, or to the ordinary people, and forgive me for this, some people have cramps. No, I want to know what is the reason. Because yes, if you want to know the reason, go to the book. Read the books. And before doing so, you have to acquire the first language. And what is that language? The language is Arabic. You do not know Arabic, and you claim that you are a scholar, I think nobody is going to take you seriously. If you want to really claim something about Islam, you must first of all acquire the language, and then you can be talking about it. And look, when I was doing my PhD, and my PhD was on the French philosopher, my teacher told me that unless and until you learn French, you cannot do your PhD. My dear friends, after 16 or 20 years, teacher is telling me that if you want to do something in the French philosopher, you have to learn the French language, and you're talking about Islam and you do not know Arabic language, who would take you seriously? So the point is, there are differences, but differences have reason. And in order to find out those reasons, you have to get into the history. And the serious guys would go into the history, come up with the argument, assess them, and then they can talk rightly, and of course they would be respected in that way. On this end, on this note, and sorry for that, sorry for this time also is running out, but sorry for that. But I think it's very, very important that never underestimate Islamic scholars. And it is not something that is coming out of nowhere. It is coming from Quran. It is coming from Hadith. It is coming from the companions. And Prophet ﷺ stated, That khayrul quruni qarni, the best time is the time of me and my companions. And then summa allazina yalunahum, and the best time is the time of the tabi'in. And the best time is the time of the taba tabi'in. And that ends on the 210th year of the hijrah. 210th year of hijrah, which means what? Look, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was living in the 7th century, right? So 7th century, 8th century, 9th century, right? So 9th century, middle 9th century, you have to look at the scholars who fall in that. And you, at least you have to relate to that, what is going on over there, right? So person like me who is just come over here, or the person who is just living by our neighbors, and he comes and he said, no, I understand that. I think that does not have the authenticity, that does not have the legitimacy, because it has a history, and history must be linked to the Quran and the Sunnah, and that's the best way that we are supposed to be doing it. On this end, I end, and let's have the Sunnah, and then we would offer the prayer. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله الواحد القهار الملك العزيز الجبار الرؤوف الرحيم الغفار الذي خلق بقوته الليل والنهار والذي خلق بقدرته الجبال والبحار الذي خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار ألا له الخلق وله الأمر وألا له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين صادق الوعد الأمين. أما بعد أيها المؤمنون أوصيكم في الإيمان والإسلام والإحسان. الإيمان أن تؤمنوا بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر والقدر خيره وشره من الله تعالى والبعث بعد الموت. والإحسان أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. هذا هو الإحسان. أيها المؤمنون قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. وقال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في مقام آخر لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من نفسي، أو كما قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. بارك الله لنا لكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا إياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. فاستغفر الله لي ولكم استغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله الواحد القهار الملك العزيز الجبار الرؤوف الرحيم الغفار الذي خلق بقوته الليل والنهار والذي خلق بقدرته الجبال والبحار الذي خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار ألا له الخلق وله الأمر ولا له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين صادق الوعد الأمين. أما بعد أيها المؤمنون أمركم الله تعالى بإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة والإخلاص في الدين لقوله تعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين حنفاء يقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة وذلك دين القيمة صدق الله العظيم. قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام الصلاة عقام الدين من أقامها فقد أقام الدين ومن هدمها وهدم الدين كما قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. بارك الله لنا لكم في القرآن العظيم. ما قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام الصلاة أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم 5 صلوات في كل يوم وليلة كتبهن الله على العباد يطهرون بها الأرواح وينظفون بها الأجساد ومن حافظ عليهن دائما فقد فاز وهدي إلى سبيل الرشاد ومن تركهن عامدا فقد خسر وحشر إلى جهنم بئس المهاد أو كما قال النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام. بارك الله لنا لكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا إياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم فاستغفر الله لي ولكم استغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
سووا واعتدلوا صفوفكم. Please straighten up the sufuf. Fill up the masjid hall first and then make your sufuf in the other room. So still there is a lot of empty space in the masjid hall. Brothers are requested to make their sufuf first in the masjid hall. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. لا إله إلا الله. So, brothers, just calm down just for within a minute. I think the donation box would be rotated among you. So, just have patience and donate as much as possible for the masjid. As you know that the maintenance of the masjid rests entirely on your donations. So do help masjid to grow, to flourish, and it would entirely be because of your donations. The second thing that, because you're waiting, so that I think I should make your waiting fruitful. So there is one ruling of the Sharia that, for example, in marriage, so a lot of gifts are given, okay, from both sides, from the side of the wife, from the side of the husband, right? So what if there is a separation between husband and wife? Can the husband and his family take their given gifts back? What does the Sharia say about it? Look, the Sharia has divided this matter into two things: before marriage and after marriage. Now, before marriage, if the gifts have been given to the wife, right, so these gifts can be taken back only when it is a culture of the town, right? If it is cultural, then you can take them back, and even the qadi of that place, he can force the family that they should hand over the gifts to the family of the husband. Now, after marriage, after the nikah is done, any gift that is given by the husband to his wife cannot be taken back, neither legally nor ethically. So this is what the ruling is about, and let's pray Allah Almighty that Allah Almighty brings happiness in our life. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina maulana Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim sallu alayhi. या मेरे परवरदिगार नमाज जुमा हमने बाजमात अदा की से अपनी बारगाह में कबूल फरमा। या मेरे परवरदिगार इस जुमे की बरकत से हम सब की ज़िंदगियों में, ईमान में, अमल में, रिस्क में, सेहत में, मामलात में, औलाद में, अहलिया में बरकतें और खुशादियाँ नसीब फरमा। सल्लल्लाहु ताला अला खैर खल्क़िही मुहम्मद व अला आलिही व सहबिही अजमाइन बिरहमतिक या रहमान रहीम।
اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم وصلوا عليه. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا عذاب الميزان. صلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
या नबी सलाम अलैका या रसूल सलाम अलैका या हबीब सलाम अलैका सलाम अलैका या का रहमतों के ताज वाले दो जहां के राज वाले अर्श की महराज वाले अर्श की महराज वाले आसियों की लाज वाले या नबी सलाम अलैका या रसूल सलाम अलैका या हबीब सलाम अलैका सलाम अलैका यज़्तु फैले गो से आज़म गंज बख्शे फैज़ आलम सदकाए इमाम आज़म सदकाए इमाम आज़म दूर हो सभी के रंजो गम या नबी सलाम अलैका या रसूल सलाम अलैका या हबीब सलाम अलैका सलाम अलैका सबा तू मदीने जाना मेरा माजरा सुनाना पढ़ता है तेरा दीवाना पढ़ता है तेरा दीवाना या नबी सलाम अलैका या रसूल सलाम अलैका या हबीब सलाम अलैका सलाम अलैका एक और अर्ज करूं मैं मेरे मौला जब मरूं मैं कलमा आपका पढ़ूं मैं कलमा आपका पढ़ूं मैं बाद उसके ये कहूँ मैं या नबी सलाम अलैका या रसूल सलाम अलैका या हबीब सलाम अलैका सलाम अलैका या इलाही वासिताले रसूल ये सलामे आज जाना हो कबूल।
Salatu wassalamu alayka ya Habibullah, salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim sallu alayhi. या मेरे परवरदिगार, नमाज जुमा बा जमात अदा की गई, उसके बाद सलातो वस्सलाम पेश किया गया, इसे अपनी बारगाह में कबूल व मकबूल फरमा। इसके तवस्सुत से या मेरे परवरदिगार हम सब के ईमान में, अमल में, रिस्क में, सेहत में, मामलात में, औलाद में, घर में, उठने बैठने में बरकतें उनको शादियाँ नसीब फरमा। या मेरे परवरदिगार हम सब को आपस में इत्तेहाद, इत्तेफाक और यगानगत से रहने की तौफीक नसीब फरमा। मरीज़ों को शिफाए कुली नसीब फरमा। परेशान हाल लोगों की परेशानियों को आसानी से तब्दील फरमा। जिन अहबाब ने दुआओं के लिए कहा या जिनके दिलों में नेक तमन्नाएँ, नेक ख्वाहिशें, नेक दुआएँ हैं, या मेरे परवरदिगार उनकी दुआओं को उनके हक़ में कबूल व मकबूल फरमा। या मेरे परवरदिगार हमें आपस में एक दूसरे से बदगुमानी से महफूज फरमा। इन्नल्लाह व मलाइकतहु युसल्लूना अलन नबी या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू सल्लू अलैहि व सल्लिमू तस्लीमा। Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim sallu alayhi. My dear brothers, right after this verse, this is the verse of the Holy Quran, it says that Allah Almighty and His angels say salam on Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So whenever I read this or recite this verse, so you are also supposed to be saying Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim sallu alayhi, because Prophet said that who has not said durood on me, he really hurt me. And I think we should not be among those who could ever be the cause or direct or indirect to hurt the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Maulana Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim sallu alayhi. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifuna, salamun ala al-mursalin, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.